Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll get started. Matovu, page 101. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. Bani berofasecha avodetecha eshacha be'echa l'shecha be'yiratecha matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'od beitecha u'bekom mishkav kevodecha v'ani ashtachaveh le'evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. V'ani tefilati lecha Adonai yikratzon Elohim v'rov chasecha Hanani v'medishecha Matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. The soul and for the body, page 99. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Ata berata, ata yitzarta, ata nezvata bi, ata mishamra b'kirbi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. V'ata adib dila mimeni v'atzila bilati lavo. Kol zman shama b'kirbi modani lefanecha. Adonai Elohai Elohei Avotai Ve'imotai Rivon kol ha'ma'asim adon kol ha'neshamot. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi.
I wish I would have had a drink.
Sovereign of time and space, who created the human body with wisdom, creating within many openings and passageways. It's not revealed to you that should even a single passageway rupture or a single opening close up, it would no longer be possible to exist and stand before you. Baruch atah Adonai, healer of all flesh, who creates wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechli bina l'havin beino uvein layla. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani ben korim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ma'al yisharu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ma'atir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Zokeh gefrutim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Rocha haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamekim tzaddik yaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Sha'asa lekol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'tefillah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Anoken la'ya'ef haolam. Today and every day may you look upon us, and may all who see us look upon us with eyes filled with kindness, love, and compassion. Act toward us with kindly love. Baruch atah Adonai, who acts with kindly love to the people Israel. 107.
I would like 7.
Baruch atah Adonai, sovereign of time and space, who has provided us with a path to holiness through the observance of mitzvot, and instructed us to engage with the words of Torah.
I would like to leave early.
Baruch atah Adonai,
11:30, that's an hour and a half.
and the Lamed Torah Li'amo Yisrael. Baruch atah. These are the deeds that yield immediate fruit and continue to yield fruit in time to come. Honoring parents, performing deeds of kindness and love, attending the house of study morning and evening, providing hospitality, visiting the sick, helping the needy bride, attending the dead, probing the meaning of prayer, making peace between one person and another, and between loving partners. The Talmud Torah, the study of Torah, is the most basic of them all. 122. Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam Arehu. Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam
Monday.
Baruch Oseh Bereshit, Baruch Omer V'Yoseh, Baruch Ozerun Kayim, Baruch Merachem al Haaretz, Baruch Merachem al Habriyot, Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam, Baruch Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam, Baruch Meshalem Zachar Tov, Meshalem Zachar Tov L'Re'ah, Baruch Halan Dekayam Lanetzach, Baruch Bodeh Umatzil, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam, Baruch Shamar Behaya Olam, Singular one who gives life to the world, sovereign, praised and glorified is your great name. Baruch atah Adonai, sovereign, celebrated with songs of praise. 134 or something. 130.
Just inform.
Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Adonai, U'Lezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, U'Lezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Lahayid baboker kastecha, ve'emunatcha balero, ale asur balinabel, ale higayon bechidor, mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Doladon la'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Yisematani Adonai b'choalacha, b'maaseh yadecha aranen, maganu ma'asecha Adonai, me'oram kumat shevotecha, mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, Doladon la'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon.
What day?
Sadikatamar Yifra Keres Balanum Yizkashetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafridu Obyenu B'Meseva B'Shenim V'Rananim Yehiyu Lehagi Yashar Adonai Tsuri Tsuri Be'olam L'Kavod. 136. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Hallelujah Selah. Hilal Davido, Michalohai HaMelech, Baruch Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
Daniel
Gadol Adonai Me'olam Va'od, V'Gulato In Kaker. Hadar Kavod Hodecha, V'Yirei Flotacha Asicha. Zekaratu Chayaviyu, Tzitat Chayevenu.
When I'm sick,
O Adonai Lakol, Rachama Al Kol Ma'asam. Kavod Malchut Chayom Meru, Gevurat Chayida Beru. Malchut Chamalchut Kol Amim, Meshach Lecha B'Kol Dor Vador. Ehnei Chol Lecha Yisaberu, Atman Lotein Lahem Et Ochlam Be'ito. Tzadik Adonai B'Chol Brachav, V'Chasid B'Chol Ma'asav.
I think I'll be better.
Ritzon Yerav Yahaseh, V'et Shabbatam Yishma V'Yoshiem. Yilat Adonai V'Gerpi, V'Berech Kol B'Sar Shem Kodsho Me'olam Va'ed. V'Anachnu Nevarech Yah, Me'at Yad Olam, V'Hallelujah. Shomer Etim, Knows around
I'm not better.
Hallelujah, Shammai, hallelujah,
Oh, but you better find your way. You'll be okay.
141. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Amen. Amen. 145. Nishma Kotai, Varashipano Maya Eloheinu, Ruach Obasar, declared runs of Eloheinu Tamis, Olam Olam Atahel, Umibaladata, Eno Melech Shachadel Matzil, Nesmrachen Bacholet Sarabet Zutari Anu Melech, Eleatan. For our mouths filled with song as the sea, our tongues to sing endlessly like countless waves. Our lips to offer limitless praise like the sky. Our eyes to shine like the sun and the moon. Our arms to spread heavenward like eagle's wings. And our feet swift as fear. We would so be unable to fully express our gratitude to you, our God and God of our ancestors, or to praise your name. For even one of the myriad moments of kindness with which you have blessed our ancestors and us. From Egypt you redeemed us on an iron God from the house of bondage you liberated us. Rocky Nafshir the Najwa Kol provide at Shem called Show. 147. God, in the fullness of your power, great and release, name mighty in all times and awesome yours, and indeed sovereign and throned on high. Shotenan Marom, Nekadosh Shemo. David, the chapter 148. Yishtabah Shimcha Le'ad Malkeinu Haaretz. Brachot v'hoda'ot le'atah b'yad olam. Baruch atah Adonai ha'elah el melech gadol v'tishbachot el hoda'ot Adonai nifla'ot abocher b'shivei zimra melech elokei ha'olamim yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yifar Yikadav Yikadash Shemei Rabbi Yahad Radir Devilik Malchutei B'chayedom Yom Echad U'chayedom B'et Yisrael B'agama U'bizman Kariv V'yemeru Hayim Eshmei Rabbi Torah Ve'olam Ve'almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'barach your money V'aseh v'tadar v'talal Shemei good shot v'gurvitu Le'elah mikol birchatam v'shiratam Tushveratam v'nefem matam Navilam v'yalma V'yemeru Hayim. We rise at page 149. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Baruch et Adonai Amitorah. Baruch Adonai Amitorah. Amitorah Le'olam va'ed. Amitorah Amitorah Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Yotzer or u'borech Hoshem Oseh Shalom u'borech Echad. Now our children will brought the with kindness you illumine the earth and all who dwell on it, and in your goodness day after day you renew creation. The Techiyah HaMitim, page 151. El Adon Bomatim, Baruch Borah, Lefigon Neshama, Ma'ale Olam, Ta'aduna, Hasurim Yotom, Amin Gael, Hayot HaKodesh, Ne'enar Lekavod, Ha'amriyavah, Zechut, Mishor, Li'Tevisa, Chesed Merachim, Li'Tekedodo, Tovim Yoram, Shevar Eloheinu, Yitzorah, V'Ta'at, Ravina, V'Haskel, V'Koach, V'Urah, Na'an, B'Yom Moshim, Be'Keref Tevel, V'Lein Ziru, V'Afikim Nogel, Na'el Zivah, V'Vo Ha'olam, Shevim V'Tzetam, V'Sasim V'Voam, Osim V'Emam, V'Tzon Konam, Erev Havot, Nodim Shmom, Zohol V'Marina, V'Zechah Mafuto, Kara Shanam Bayizrakor, Rahamini Soratavana, Shepat no Pilo, Hosavamaro, Tiferet Gugidula, Pravino Vani, Bethayot Magoder. 153. Ibarat Serena Malkina Golena Bore Kedoshim. Elohim Globerim Golam Giborim Kolavosim Emar Yiran Ritson Kona. And Shamona Kadilum like these Leon Tramanaka Barak, the Safar and the Makadosha, Lam Kamonim, the Omrim, Bidira, Kadosh, 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 Adonai, Zebaot, Elokola Haaretz, Zebaot. Ovanim v'chayot HaKodesh, Raskadon v'simat rafim, Umatam v'shapim v'omrim, Baruch Kavod Adonai, Minim Kavod, El Baruch Mimod Yifenu. God's goodness, the work of creation, is renewed each day as the psalms are declared. Like the creator of the great lights, for God's love is everlasting. For Chadash al Zion Ta'ir, for Chadash Zion Ta'ir, Baruch Adonai, Yotzer You have loved us deeply out of our God and showered us with boundless compassion. Avinu Malkin, for the sake of our ancestors who trusted in you and to whom you taught the laws of life. So may you be gracious to us and instruct us. And Creator, have compassion for us. Open our hearts that we may understand and above the serve here and study. Observe, perform, and fulfill all the teachings of your Torah with love. That everything new with Torah, that everything new with Torah, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'kol levavecha v'kol nafshecha, v'kol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadavarim ha'eleh, asher Anochi mitzavah hayom ha'avodecha, v'shinatan b'yadecha, v'dibarta v'shivtecha b'beitecha, v'letecha ha'derech, v'shortecha u'kunecha, v'kshartam b'yadecha, v'hayu l'totafo b'einecha, v'utatam al mezuzot b'techa, v'visharecha. Lema'an tizkaru v'asitem b'kototai, v'yitem kedoshim Elohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hoseki etem me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'hiyot lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Kayam Shemo Kayam, Isolachon Mafukovem Nekolah Kayam. Emet Shatahu Elohim Motenu, Mokim Dalach Avotenu Motenu, Koalenu Elavotenu Motenu, Yutzvenu Tzvishotenu, Kovenu Elam Shemecha, and Elohim Zulatecha, Avotenu Motenu, Atahu Meheo. Yilol Eloyon, Baruch Hu Mevorach, Moshe u'Miriam u'Bnei Yisrael, L'chanu Shira b'Simcha Rabbah, V'amru Kulam. Our homage is to God on high, who is ever praised. Moses and Miriam and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you. Page 158. Mikamocha o Elim Adonai, Mikamocha Nadari Kodesh, Mikamocha o Elim Adonai, Mikamokan No right to hero, oh say farewell. No right to hero, oh say farewell. Adonai, you won't play long fire. Shira, Shipuruni, Vishikal, Sasmatayam, Yakulam, Hodu, Nehiku, Amaru, Adonai, you won't play long fire. Mikamoka, 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 no right to hero, oh say farewell. No right to hero, oh say farewell. Adonai, you won't let along fire. Sur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, U'vekuma Yehuda be'Yisrael. Ro Aleinu Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, God Yisrael. Rise as able for Yirah, beginning page 159. Adonai Sefer HaKitah Ufiya V'Yirah Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Elohei Abraham Elohei Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Yaakov Vezocher Chasayot Imahot Nevi'el Be'ehem Leman Shemo Yahweh Melech Ozer Mashiach Bakim Baruch Atah Adonai Magid Avraham V'Kei Sarah Ad Gibor Le'olam Adonai V'chayim Itim V'Harav V'Shiva Ruach Morid HaGashem Mechaper Chaim V'Chesed Mechayed Meitim V'Rachamim Rakim Tzomech Noflim V'Vechomim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekayed V'Nachom V'Shenei Achar Michamoch Abba V'Gurot U'Midom Elah Melech Me'nid U'Mechayed U'Matzmiach V'Tshuvah V'Ne'eman Atah L'Chayot V'Itim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayed HaMeitim 161 Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam Kishem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Maron Kakadu al Yad Nevi'acha V'Kara Zel Zeh V'Amar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzevaot Melech haaretz Yehovah Adir Az Bekorash Gadol Adir Bechazak Mashmi'im Cho Minasim U'Matzrafim U'Matam Baruch Yameru Baruch Yehovah Adonai במקום כמגן תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, אם מחכים אנחנו לך, מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. בעינינו תרנו מלכותך, הדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני עולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. Hallelujah. לדור ודור נגיגו לך, לנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבתך אלוהים מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Continue with the rest of the Tefillah on our own through page 165, the Hebrew, the English, or your own heart's prayers to meditate. Take two, brother. On key. Oh, say shalom ben Roma. Hallelujah, say shalom aleichem. She'acho Yisrael. She'acho Yisrael. Beimru. Amen. Oh, say shalom in Rama. Hallelujah, say shalom. So, for those not in the know, I came home from Antarctica with COVID. I have been, I'm asymptomatic for the last 10 days since I tested, so by CDC, I'm totally good to be out. But I'm trying to be a little more careful. So I'm not going to call people out for tour. I'm not going to bring people out. So I'm going to just, somebody will volunteer and help. That would be good. And I'm feeling fine, aside from a little fatigue.
Yeah, flying over Antarctica will do that.
Yeah. Fellas, I've got COVID fatigue and travel fatigue.
Did you have penguin flu? Is that the penguin flu? Penguin flu?
Penguin flu is.
You didn't sleep with her.
Penguin flu is a very serious thing, actually.
Penguins are for us.
For penguins. I mean, there isn't penguin flu. But when you're in Antarctica,
See a penguin with a little foot.
they take extreme caution that they not introduce avian flu, which would decimate the penguins. So you have to, what's the word, sterilize everything. They sterilize your bags, they sterilize your boots, they sterilize everything before you go on land, and then sterilize everything again when you go back. So penguin flu is like a big concern.
Who's picturing? But the big thermometer coming out, it's now sub-zero.
It was not sub-zero most of the time that I was there. Yeah. It's summer. I mean, it's definitely sub-zero all winter, but it was, high summer. Yeah. I mean, high summer is still winter by our standards, but summer. Okay, I'm going to read first, we start the book of Exodus, Shabat this week, and I'm going to pick up with chapter 2. So Moses has been born. Most people know the story. Pharaoh wants to kill all the boys born to the Israelites. Family puts him in the basket. The Pharaoh's daughter picks him up. He's raised as royalty in Pharaoh's household. And I'm going to pick up with where Moses is coming into adulthood and is coming into recognition of who he is and where he comes from. So this is chapter 2. I'm going to start with verse 11, which is on page 323 for anyone following in Eitz Chaim. Again, otherwise, if you're online, you're joining us, it's just Exodus chapter 2. I'm going to read 11 through 22, and then we'll talk about it. And you can follow along in the translation either in the book or slightly different translation on the sheet. ויהי בימים ההם, ויגע משה ויצא אל אחיו, וירא בסבלותם, וירא איש מצרי, מכה איש עברי, מאחיו, ויפנה כה וכה, וירא כי אין איש, ויך את המצרי, ויתמנהו בחור. ויצא ביום השני, הנה שני אנשים עיוורים מצרים, ויאמר לרשע, למה תכה רעך? ותאמר, מי שמך לאיש שר ושופט עלינו, על הרגני אתה אומר, אשר הרגת את המצרי, וירא משה, ויאמר, אכן נודע הדבר. וישמע פרעה את הדבר הזה, ויבקש להרוג את משה. ויברח משה מפני פרעה, וישב בארץ מדיין, וישב על הבאר. לכהן מדיין 7 בנות, ותבואנה ותלנה, ותמלאנה את הרהטים להשקות צאן אביהם. ויבוא הרועים יגרשו, ויחם משה ויושיען, ויעש את צאנם. ותבואנה אל רעואל אביהם, ויאמר מדוע ירדן בו היום. ותאמרנה איש מצרי, הציבנו מיד הרועים, וגם דלה מנו, ויעש את הצאן. ויאמר אל בנותיו, ואיוב, מה מעשה עזבתם את האיש, ירד לו ויאכל לכם. ויואל משה לשבת את האיש, וייתן את ציפורה בביתו למשה, ותלד בן, ויקרא את שמו גרשום, כי אמר, גר הייתי בארץ מצרים ובארץ נוכריה. Okay, so will someone read the translation from that sheet?
Exodus, you're talking about the English translation of Exodus?
Yeah.
Okay. A certain member of the house of Levi took into his household his wife, a woman of Levi. The woman conceived and bore a son. She put this child into it and placed it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. Pharaoh's daughter made him her son. She named him Moses, exclaiming, I drew him out of the water. Sometime after that, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his kinsfolk and witnessed their labors. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. He turned this way and that, and seeing no one about, he struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When he went out the next day, he found 2 Hebrews fighting. So he said to the offender, why did you strike him, fellow? He retorted, who made you chief and go over us? Told me to kill the Egyptian. Moses was frightened and thought, then the matter is known. When Pharaoh learned of the matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh. He arrived in the land of Midian and sat down beside a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They came to him to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them off. Moses rose to their defense, and he watered their flock. When they returned to their father who well, he said, how is it that you have come back so soon today? They answered, an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. He said to his daughters, "Where is he then? Why did you leave him? Ask him to bring bread." Moses consented to stay with the man, and he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah as his wife. She bore a son whom he named Gershom, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land."
This is what the name. Okay, so I want to mainly focus on, there are three conflicts, right, in this story. And this is basically all we have. You know, Moses is a baby, and then we have these three conflicts, and a few sentences later, he's at the burning bush, and God calls him to leave. So this is, you know, if you're making a movie on the early life of Moses, you don't have very much to go on.
Freedom of artistic expression.
That's true. Which in Judaism is known as midrash. So I want to just first thing I want to look at this one comment from Harold Kushner, which is always striking to me. He wrote a book on called Overcoming Life's Disappointments. It's based around the life of Moses. And he says, you know, in every other hero narrative I know of, from Oedipus to Harry Potter, the hero is born to noble parents and raised by peasants, with his real identity emerging years later. Only in the story of Moses is the hero born into a slave family and adopted by a king. The Bible would seem to imply it is nobler to be a Hebrew slave than to be an Egyptian prince. So just, you know, and interesting that this is a reversal of all the other stories where, you know, the prince doesn't know he's a prince and finally becomes a prince. You know, this is the case where, you know, he's raised as a prince and he finds who he is not a prince, right? Which is, you know, very, very Jewish. You know, we're always the underdog. So, okay. What do you make of the interventions? 3 times Moses, who could have just, you know, stood by and watched. First, he sees an Egyptian striking a Jew, which is interesting, described as one of his kinsmen. Like, how does Moses at this point know that these are his kin? Right? Since he's a baby, he's been raised by Pharaoh's daughter in the palace. What kinship does he see? The next day, he intervenes in a fight between 2 Jews who don't react very well. And then, when he realizes, you know, his killing the Egyptian and hiding him in the sand is out there in the public, he flees and he comes to the defense of the women who are watering their flock. The shepherds are coming in, they're driving off the women at the well, and Moses intervenes again on their behalf. Oh.
Yeah. Here's where I get a little confused. When you were killing the firstborn and they saw Moses threw him out of the basket, they knew that he was a Hebrew because it was circumcised.
Yeah.
Well, we have a reservation of faith that he was circumcised. Threw him out of the water.
That is not.
Well, what did he circumcised with, was it that was customary at the time?
No. Yes and no, because
It was a lot before.
so one, we don't know how old he was when they stuck him in the water. 2, I mean, it really may well be. But
This is probably off.
It says on page 322, when she saw how beautiful she was, she hit him for 3 months. So, you know,
okay, so he's definitely 8 days old when she hides But we know he's not, because he's circumcised later.
Yeah.
So Moses, his own son, is not circumcised. Right? So he is circumcised, but only after his mother circumcises him, right? He's not circumcised, he's circumcised by his mother in the kind of odd ritual where she deems him a bridegroom of blood. Debbie, yeah.
Okay, I'm not supposed to do it. We're going to do male
Ancient Egyptians were, okay, so maybe circumcision. Okay, so could be everybody was circumcised, actually. Again, so Paul, what was your original question? Didn't they know? They knew, I mean, Pharaoh's daughter does know he's a Jewish child.
That's correct.
Right? Or a slave child.
So the question that poses to me is that when he struck down the Egyptians,
Yes.
okay, and then he found out that the Pharaoh knew that he struck down the Egyptians, he panicked and he fled.
Yes.
Did he flee because the Egyptian household knew that he was a Hebrew, or was it the crime of murder itself, even though and then be considered an Egyptian or be considered a Jew? What motive is displayed?
Well, the text tells us that when Pharaoh wants to kill him, right? Pharaoh, who he probably identifies with as a father, right? We don't know. Does Pharaoh want to kill him because he's Jewish or because he killed the Egyptian? Except that they know he's Jewish from the start, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his original identity is not hidden, except maybe to him. But even there, probably not, because his mother was the wet nurse to him, right? He doesn't go on his own. So, again, in the movie, the Spielberg cartoon, Prince of Egypt, he hears a song that the Israelites are singing, and he remembers this song that his mother sang to him, which is kind of a nice midrash, right? Because Moses has gone out, and the line in 11 is he's grown up and he goes out to his kinfolk, which point is he recognizes, he somehow at this point knows that he's not Egyptian, right? How is not entirely clear. I mean, maybe Pharaoh's daughter who adopted him told him. Maybe his birth story, and she told him, I found you in a basket. But somehow he knows. I want to come back to the three different. So what is the same and what is different in these three interventions? Debbie?
He always seems to be intervening on the side of justice.
Yes. Okay.
And that's different from earlier people. When Abraham had Sarah prostitute herself to avoid problems.
Yes. So Moses has courage, and he's adamant about justice. Absolutely adamant about justice. So Yeah, please.
It would seem then that let's see, it would seem then in verse 13, why do you strike your fellow? And who made you chief and ruler over us? They did him a favor.
Insofar as
He got out of town.
insofar as they tipped him off that his first killing of the Egyptian was that he was a wanted man. They let him know he was a wanted man. Yeah, for sure.
Now that you bring that up, Lee, I'm just thinking, well, everyone knew he was Jewish. You know, I just thought, wait a minute. It's like, he didn't know.
Not admitting it.
He's approaching these two men that are fighting with him. And they said, who made you ruler over us?
Right.
As if to say, we know who you are.
I think that they were addressing him as a young Egyptian and a young aristocratic Egyptian, thinking that he was, so bold as to
But if
make
you were the
yourself
ruling
like
class,
Pharaoh.
you assume that you could do that, even as a young man.
But they might assume, maybe that they're able to speak back to this prince
Okay.
in a way that they wouldn't because they got dirt on them, right?
Okay.
So one possibility just occurred to me, and I don't know if anybody's a Game of Thrones person, but in the newest thing, the prince is very obviously not of the same lineage as the rest of the family.
Physically,
He has brown flowing locks, and everybody else has just sheep white hair. And the royal lineage is sheep white, and he is clearly not. And the whole kingdom knows it, but you're forbidden from talking about it because it's clearly he's not of the lineage.
right,
It's possible that Moses did not look anything like the very inbred lineage of the pharaohs who had striking features, pronounced notes. Like, and we know that the pharaohs were very inbred. They were, holy lineage, so you couldn't bring in other things.
right,
And I think from the records, they look very similar.
right.
So it's very possible that everybody knew Moses was not of the lineage. And at a certain age, he probably figured it out too. People would whisper, and, so the story, like to people 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years, might have been very obvious. Doesn't look
Right. Game of Thrones. Makes me think of the movie The Jerk, where Steve Martin, I was born a poor black child.
at some point he figured it out. It wasn't like age 5 or 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Molly.
So these two fellows, these two slaves that, really put Moses on the table, they go out with the Exodus, and throughout the 40 years, those two rascals are always causing Moshe Rabbeinu problems. So they're like the little, like the mosquitoes. They're always causing problems for him.
Yeah, they're always those guys.
Yeah.
Humor aspect.
Maybe part of it, you study ancient Egypt, Pharaoh's daughter claiming a child could actually have a lot of power that would make Pharaoh jealous, because the lineage could go easily through her as through, say, that Pharaoh's son, because because it was very inbred. And so maybe there was
Palace rivalry. That's where Game of Thrones. Yeah.
I was thinking, how did Pharaoh's daughter frankly get away with this, right? Oh, look, I found a baby, it's mine. No, but I had like two thoughts. One is from the Kung Fu Panda movie where, Poe the panda is being raised by a stork. And the stork's like, I have news for you, Poe. What? You're adopted. No! He's legitimately shocked that he's, not the panda's not the son of the stork. It's a running joke in the movie. But the other one is like the Horatio Hornblower series.
Okay.
At one point, they think he's dead, and he's got a son who we think is everyone thinks is orphan now, and I think it was the daughter of one of the admirals, and as the book puts it, she's the daughter of one naval hero and the widow of a second, and adopts the orphan son of a third. No one says a word.
Uh-huh.
How does she get away with this?
Well, she gets away, in this case, she gets away with it because she's Pharaoh's daughter, right? Who's,
No, really. Who's the guy?
But easily have a lot of power in her own right.
right, she could.
The Egyptian royalty was really different from all the other royalties around. That women had some power in her lineage as going to the gods was just as important as his lineage going to the gods. Not that we believe that they were gods,
But they did, and that's the operative factor, right? Andrew.
I mean, it's hard to kind of implement because it's not a field of study that I'm familiar with, like the social wars for a lot of Egyptians, but like, starting a family with your sisters encouraged and they had more money than God because in their minds they were God, and it's sort of hard to see how they're all fit together. It's hard to imagine that actually killing someone, the act of murdering someone, was enough to get you executed by your dad.
Yeah.
It's easier to imagine that he knew he was not from the home team and he was on thin ice and any excuse would be made that I'm outside the circle. It's easy to imagine how that could be with a blended family where you're a kid from a different marriage or that's a very human feeling.
Right, I mean, you imagine if Pharaoh's biological kid killed somebody, like, so what? I mean, Pharaoh's probably killed people. They've enslaved hundreds of thousands of people. Like, killing somebody when you're in Pharaoh's household doesn't seem like that big a deal on its own, right? I think that's true. Pharaoh wanting to kill him because he's killed an Egyptian really does make you think there's more to this story,
But, another part of that too is that I think he kind of indulged his daughter. I mean, he had already put up this edict that he wanted to have all these personal shepherds for the sons of youth.
Yeah.
And then she shows up with this child, Maurice.
So she's sort of his daughter is undermining him.
It's like, she sort of undermined the situation, and then she was biding his time. He just found now he has an excuse. He's got two reasons to do him up. Because number one, he was during that time when he was doing away with the children, and two, he indulged his daughter to a point. Now he has an excuse.
That could be.
So, what, Rabbi, like you said earlier, many Egyptians were killed or murdered, how you define it, but what was so special about this particular Egyptian that Moses killed? Was there anything to get a certain rank, or was he part of the household, or was he just there?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't know, but I don't think so. I think, as people have said, that it's more of a pretense for Pharaoh to want him out. This is Pharaoh who presides over the destruction of his whole country, right? I mean, with what's going to unfold in the next two portions, including the death of this Pharaoh has a lot of blood on his hands. That he would be so upset by one murder that just doesn't ring true. I just want to note, a number of commentators point to these three different interventions as speaking about the nature of Moses' pursuit of justice, right? So one is you see someone abusing power, and Moses steps up and takes the side of the one who's being persecuted. But he's also concerned about his own people, right? So it's one thing to speak out about the foreign power that's oppressing people. The second intervention indicates that, okay, but he's also concerned about justice, not just justice for the Jewish people, but justice within the Jewish people. And the third, it points to the fact that he also insists upon justice when Jews aren't involved at all, right? So we have three different advocacies here. One is advocacy for the Jews who are being persecuted. Two is advocacy within the Jewish people, saying that we need justice within our own ranks. And three is, but we also have to work in the wider world, even when it doesn't involve us. Right? But we have a human responsibility to secure justice. And I think there's an important lesson here for us in our own lives as we look at, what is our calling as advocates for justice. We want to speak out in defense of the Jewish people. We want justice within our own people. And we also have an obligation to work for justice even when it doesn't involve us, except that it involves us because we're human beings.
I was just saying, it's always nice to reread the stories, of course, and things. But you guys, he didn't drive off the shepherds. The shepherds drove off the women. He watered the flock.
Right.
That's actually justice for animals. Because
That's true.
The flock were the ones that actually benefited. Never quite focused in on that. He did the work of making sure the animals had one.
Right. And he's doing the work, and it's a lot of work because he's doing 7 people's worth of work, right? There's 7 daughters there to water the flocks, and Moses does it himself. It's a big task.
It really strikes me the spontaneity, the intuition that he acts with, and
Yeah, but he moves both ways before he did his first one.
I still feel like his sense of self-preservation is in this amazing because there's a very late teens, early 20s way to behave. Like I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'm not afraid that that's just not going to happen for me. The fear of death or harm is present, but doesn't really change his decision when acting. And maybe I just gotten old enough to grown out of part of that, but I wouldn't make decisions like these without somebody backing me up, without consulting the people I'm looking to represent. It's chaotic good behavior, which is great, but whoa, Moses.
Sure.
Following the thread of the water. Because
Wow.
Joseph's body levitated up out of the water, out of the muck and the slime. And he also grew as a human being from the pit to that water by forgiving his brothers because he saw the justice of God's larger plan. And then Moses is raised up out of the water. And he's now drawing water out of the well to proceed. And there's going to be more water in his future.
Right.
Just following the thread that may or may not.
Yeah. I mean, the first plague is water turned to blood, right? And the Jewish people are kind of born as people when we pass through the waters of the sea. So there's, yes, a lot of water and birth. I mean, even his name, right? Which doesn't Hebrew-wise make so much sense. But that's the etymology of his name, right? He names him Moses saying, I drew him out of the water. Like, you can show it because pull, but anyway, but that's, she names him, based on that.
Where's water in his name?
Water's not in his name. What's in his name? She named him Moses, explaining, I drew him out of the water. But, I mean, again, it's not very clear. Linguists look at Aramaic and they look at other languages, but the general assumption is that the word is about the pulling out rather than the water. Moshe refers to the pulling him out, and the water is assumed.
And so that's Motzi?
Motzi is fine. Lean Shoch is the continue, but also but that's not Moshe either. So the word is off a little bit somehow. I don't. Again, there's a lot written about this, and it's written by people who look at ancient languages and are looking for something that means to pull that's related to Moshe.
Yeah.
Not clear. She didn't name him Mayan, right?
Isn't this just after the fact justification? Moshe was an Egyptian name. Lots of Egyptians had Moshe as a acronym.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the name came from.
Yeah, but probably. Freud wrote a whole big thing about the name too, and he has a theory, but anyway, there are a lot of theories. It's not immediately clear from the name that this means drew out of water, except that it says she named him Moshe because she drew him out of the water. But it could indeed be after the fact.
They only give us like 4 lines of his origin stories. That must be kind of important.
Yeah.
I mean, he took 5 words just for his name.
That's it. I mean,
as much as his entire birth story.
That from there to 18, that's all we got, right? That's it. Okay, Scott and Leah.
If we're going back to kind of give alternate reasons for doing things, if he's a young man, he's wandering through the desert and sees 7 beautiful women being abused. I'm going to be a big, strong guy, and I'm going to save them. Act like young men would. And act like my other thought was if I was trying to improv this scene, he rescues the women, feeds them, and then goes, "This is Midian," and kicks one of the Shermans into the well. Right after
It's also interesting in that
this is Midian.
So he marries a Midianite woman,
Yeah.
right? And Midianites later are a big enemy. We have lots of wars against Midianites, so it's an interesting thing that this. But we also, it's also a complicated relationship, right? Moses' father-in-law is, has a Torah portion named after him. So, he's a significant person. Parenthetically, when we leave Egypt, Moses forgets to bring his wife somehow, And that's
not
where,
on the checklist. It doesn't get.
and that's where his father-in-law shows up with Sipporah saying, you left your wife back in Egypt. You left your wife back there. So, yeah.
Well, the name of the book is Shemot.
Right.
There are a lot of names in here.
Right.
Some of the names don't even work or are confusing to us because it said his father-in-law's name was Reuel.
Right.
And then it also says Hebrew.
Right.
And even in the very beginning of Shemot, it says first Melech Mitzrayim, the king of Egypt, and then a few sentences later it says Pharaoh.
Right.
So we have
Right.
titles and names.
That's true. And right already here we have the father-in-law is known as Reuel, which has to do with sees God, right? But Yitro is the name that he's.
So Rabbi, was Moses aware of the tribe of the Midianites? Or was you aware of that tribe?
Of the Midianites?
Uh-huh.
And he lived with them for sure. I mean, he married into it and lived there and had a kid with them. I mean,
prior to,
prior to fleeing there?
yeah,
We don't know. I mean, I would presume that as a prince in Pharaoh's household, he knew who the neighboring powers were.
Tutors would have been.
You would, you would think they would, somewhere when he was tutored in geography, they would have told him about the Midianites, but we don't know. There's a lot we don't know. That, I guess we'll end as we began. From birth till young adulthood, we know nothing about Moses, and when we know nothing about him, he gets married, he has a kid, next thing you know, he's 80. And that's how old he is when when he goes and confronts Pharaoh and we go out of Egypt. So, from 0 to 80, we have about 5 lines about Moses' life. So, once he's 80, from 80 to 120, we get a lot. So, there you go. The last is all about, the last third of your life is the one that matters, right? No, says Ruby. All right, concluding portion of the service. But, oh yeah, we should do it. Page 371. Not 173. Sorry, I'm a little dyslexic. Numbers dyslexic this morning.
You're not really dyslexic, if that's where it is in the other book.
Oh, good. That's it. Okay, so it's 371 in the other one, and 173 in this one. There's that Kabbalistic connection there about healing. So names, people who we are holding for in our hearts for healing at this time.
Jackie Wilson,
Alan Salzberg, Marion Hall, Karen Hockey,
Sophia Cooper,
Don Sviga, Paul Frank.
I have every window, and John Martinez.
Read sure. For these and for all who we hold in our hearts at this time, a prayer for healing. May the source of strength to bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishabera Vinotenu Lekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Page 205. We rise as able for our Alena l'shabbat La'olam La'teru Ha'yosef Reshi Shalom Sa'arei Ve'osam Adukim B'shmachot Ha'adama Shalom Sa'arei Ve'ayim Ve'gor Aleinu Ve'chol Ha'amon Ha'amavu Korim Lu'yishachar Mi'urodim V'fnei Melech Malkei HaMelechim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehunotei Shamayim v'yosef haaretz, u'Moshe yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shnei natuzo, u'shini natuzo, v'govei meromim. Hu Eloheinu Eino, Barak Malkeinu Efesu Atom, Hakatu b'Torato, V'yadad v'ayom, Ma'ashevota Elohecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, B'shamayim mima'al, V'al haaretz, mitachat eino. K'mlachut shalcha hi, u'me'at timloch b'kavod, k'katuv b'torata, sh'Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, v'ne'emar bo haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo Echad. Remember those of our congregation, community, family, friends, all those who have died this season in years past, those who have died in recent days, right? Anyone who has people you're holding in your heart for cash, if you would like to speak the names of those who are
Mark Christie and Hatfield's cousin.
Grace.
Bruce Allen Terry.
Big fiber.
Tony Roman.
Zechronam L'Bracha, may their memories and the memories of all those who have been dear to us before an enduring blessing. I would like the mourners and all whose custom it is to rise to the Kaddish, page 207. Yitgedal v'yitgedash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra pirutei yavliv malchutei, v'chayehom v'yonehom, v'chaye l'chol beit Yisrael, ad olam zizman kariv v'yimru amen. V'yei shmei Rabbah v'barak le'olam v'olei hamayim. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitahar v'yitkaram v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kushah v'rifu. Le'ela min kol birchatam v'shiratam, tushvaratam v'nechamata, Yavram v'yalman v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom v'racham v'shamayim, v'chayim aredu v'yalkol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom v'marav v'yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'yalkol Yisrael v'yimru amen. The one who makes peace on high, the peace descend on us, and all Israel and all the world. Will comfort you with all who mourn, and let us say, Amen. Stephen? Thank you, Eddie, for those of you who are watching us online, keeping us going and setting us up, and we'll do Kiddush across the way. It's a quarter to 12. 12:30. We'll be doing a class, what are we calling the class?
Beyond basic.
Beyond Basic Judaism. So it's a focus on We're going to look at the creation story, and then we're going to look at how those verses have been interpreted over the next 3,000 years in all kinds of different Jewish texts. So it's going to be a kind of looking at Jewish texts through the lens of this one piece. So we'll start again at 12:30, which and anybody's welcome to join. Any other things going on this week?
Make an announcement for future.
Sure.
So as we know, the second Friday of each month, we have service, usually here, and then an amazing dinner in the social hall. So next month, February 10th, service and fabulous dinner that Eddie and Isabel sent. And Rabbi Dan is going to share this amazing trip to Antarctica. So hope you can all come and enjoy service, celebrating a great meal, and hearing Rabbi Dan's adventures.
And along those same lines, in 2 weeks, on the fourth Friday, we have a special guest for January. His name is Lee Penchansky. He's put out an album, and it's a really wonderful album. You can look it up on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your music. It's a story about his family and discovering a letter from somebody who was a Holocaust survivor, and he's got a whole cycle of songs about the Holocaust and surviving in Israel, and he's gonna play through his record with some commentary. So that'll be in the next local. He is. He's a local guy. He goes by as a musician. He goes by Lee Penn Sky. Penn like P-E-N and Sky is S-K-Y. So that's how you can look him up on iTunes. Yeah, wherever you Adonai, page 211. Adonai, Asher Malach, B'terem po Yitzir Nivra, V'hei Nasa B'Pesach Bo, Azai Melech Shmo Mikra, Azai Melech Shmo Mikra, V'yacharei Yivyo V'akol, V'evado Yizot Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Oga, V'hu Yiyah V'tifara, V'hu Yiyah V'tifara, V'hu Echad V'yein Sheni, Aham Shelo L'Havira, V'li Reshit, V'li Tachlit, V'lo Ha'oz L'Ha'Yisra, V'lo Ha'oz L'Ha'Yisra, V'hu Eli V'chai Go'ali, V'tzor V'li V'yetzara, V'hu Nisi U'manosli, V'nagosi V'yom Ekra, V'nagosi V'yom Ekra, V'yado Avkidrubi, V'hei Ishan V'ranira, V'hidrubi V'vidati, Adonai Li V'lo Ira, Adonai Li V'lo Ira.
Welcome.